Hello and welcome back, guys. I can see that people are enjoying a lot my GRUB troubleshooting video. I'm bringing you more content about that right now. So that in that video, I use the pretty standard in terms of storage and disks, and I use an Ubuntu system. Right now, I'll bring you a RHEL based system, a Red Hat based system with a slightly different storage situation. Okay. So I'm going to bring you some more details about the GRUB troubleshooting scenario. How can I recover it? I'm going to make a part 3 or part 4, it depends how this progresses, using USB media boot. But for now, let's say you cannot boot from USB media, you are stick with this and you need to troubleshoot your way around using this. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do here. I have the same starting point. The starting point is the same. Storage, it's different. It's a little bit more complicated storage. And it's a RHEL system and not an Ubuntu system in this iteration. So what do we do before we start anything? Is first, before you do anything about this, just let me just show you. So right here I have the grub prompt waiting for us. But at this point, before we do this, I highly recommend you to get some type of information about your servers when they are healthy. So because that information is going to be very useful in this context, like your storages, the UIDs, the partition IDs, the device names. Does it have LVMs? What LVMs they are? Get an output of the proxy CMD line to see what was or what is the boot command that is used to boot your healthy system. Get a copy of FS tab running and get it handy. So all of that info, LSBL, an output of LSBLK, an output of LBLK ID, all of that. So get that information handy, because when these situations occur, they are going to be very, very, very useful. Okay, so I have an example here. Of course, this is just for my convenience sake. So I have here a screenshot of my, you guys cannot see it very well, but it's this server when it was healthy of the CMD line. And I also have a screenshot of the FS tab. Okay, of course, putting this in a mobile phone, it might not be ideal, but get a copy, get the directory structure going, get some screenshots, the actual copy of the files, because all of those UIDs, the output of proc CMD line, they're very useful for you, trust me, and I'll show you how and when here. Okay, so when the servers are healthy, get all that information handed to you, because they are going to make your life much more easier when you are in these type of situations. Okay, so let's go on to the GRUB troubleshooting here. So let's do an LS first and foremost. This is going to give me access to my visible storages that I have here on the system. So I have some procs. I'm going to ignore the proc, the MEMS, blah blah blah. I'm going to focus on the HDs and on the LVMs. Okay. So let's do ls. Let me just put my notes up and running, because I don't want to forget any details here. So my notes are here, and let's carry on. Okay, so let's do ls hd something something, and I hit the tab key, and I get all the HDs, the HD GPT-3, GPT-2, GPT-1. You will get the SDAs, ST2 and ST1s if they're SDAs. So this is all you can see about the storage on this RHEL system. Okay, so GPT-1, HD0, blah blah blah. Okay, GPT-1. Let's start with GPT-3. GPT-3 says no known file system, so let's ignore this one for now. GPT-2 has some stuff. GPT-1 has also some stuff. It's not clear what it has. Okay, so let's find out. So let's do something like set root equals and what's called HD0. Take your time, okay, if you can, of course. Sometimes the situation is stressful. Now I list the root file system, and this is the EFI folder. It doesn't really have anything too relevant for us right now. We are looking for kernel files and initRD files. Okay, so we're looking for the kernel files and initRD files, so the kernel images and the drivers images. This is not good for us, so let's try the number 2, because number 3 doesn't really matter. And okay, you have here the VM Linux, or Linux, call it whatever you want to call it. So the VM Linux is, or Linus, doesn't matter. Are the kernel images, and the interim FS are the initRD images. We need both. So okay, this looks good. Let's do an LS again. Let's list this, and looking at the LVM names, it seems obvious that this is the root file system. Okay, so now we know where we can find the kernel images and the interim FS images, and which drive holds our root file system. So right now I'm looking at the CMD line. You cannot see it very well, but the CMD line shows me that the last time this server booted successfully, the root file system was the LVM. So that's what we want to do here. Okay, so also you can, if I go to the FS tab, I can see that the UID of the root file system is also listed there. But if you don't have the UID of the root device, you can check it right now. So you can just do set root, and you just said it's LVM, and it's this guy there. So autocomplete here is auto-completing. So if I list here, it looks to be our file system, and I can just do cat etcfs tab, and that's the UID of my root file system and of my boot. But right now I'm more interested on the UID, so just take a photo, whatever, of this UID that may come in handy for you to boot your system. All right, so let's set the root back to the original one. I can do an LS just to keep my devices as a reference, the names in screen and or on screen, and I can just carry on with the next step, which is specify the Linux kernel image. So it's going to be VM Linux or Linux, whatever. I'm going to use the most recent one, but it doesn't have to be the most recent one. It just has to be one that works, but I will use the most recent one. Then I'm going to specify which file system is my root file system, equals. Okay, now I could just type UUID equals la da 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 da, and there you go. We can just type the UID you just got from the FS tab, or from your previously acquired images or screenshots or backups or whatever. Okay, but in this case, since I have this reference for the LVM, I can use it just because it's a little bit shorter to type. So if you are specifying LVM, you just type /dev/mapper. Now autocomplete does not work, which is a shame. And then you just type what's there. It's RHEL _ unknown. Here, take your time, because if you mistype anything, you need to start over. 000 C29. I'm taking my time, because if I make a mistake, I have to start over. E92 DDD/root. And that's that. So I'm just triple checking my CMD line of when the server booted with a healthy state, or to a healthy state, just to make sure, because I don't want to type this all over again. So that VM Linux image is fine. It's our most recent one. And the root device, it's a dev mapper RHEL unknown 000 C29 E92 DDD-root. I'm looking at my CMD line, and it matches. You could type root equals UID uppercase equals and type the UID. It's a very big number, so I could mistype something, but if I had to do it, I will do it. I tested it and it works fine. The part ID, whatever. There's something that the system can identify as having your root files, not the boot files, but the root files. The boot, it's specified there on the set root. Looks okay. No news, good news for so far. Let's specify the initRD, and it's going to be the this needs to match this. So if the kernel is 6.12.0.55.18, which is the case, I need to match it. So 6.12 18.emg, and yeah, looks fine. It's the most recent one. Yeah, just double checking. Cool. Now I just type the boot command. If everything goes as expected, we should boot into a regular RHEL desktop. So I did not type the no mode set. I could, so I could have a full-fledged accelerated desktop, but I didn't. So if you wanted to do that, you just after the root equals blah 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 blah, you would add the no mode set, so you don't have this kind of weird behavior on RHEL 10 that the desktop works not very well without the no mode set. So you could add after the root equals la 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 thingy no mode space no mode set. I have a video about that. Just go and check it out my channel. So if you don't add that no mode set, you have this weird situation of your desktop. But I also have a video to work this out. So if you forget to add the no mode set, you just do Control Alt F2, Control Alt F1, and you can log in as normal. Okay, and a password for the student user, and the desktop should behave normal now. So this is a RHEL 10 situation. The no mode set, it's a RHEL 10 scenario. If you're doing this on a non-RHEL 10, like a RHEL 9 or whatever before RHEL 10, that this no mode set scenario should not occur with you. You should be okay. But in RHEL 10, for now, there is a bug, if you want to call it. If you don't put the no mode set, if you boot it with a fully accelerated desktop, you get weird behaviors. At install time, you need to add the no mode set. After install, you cannot add it and just do the Control Alt F thingy-majiggy, and you can just work this out. It's fine. Now I'm just going to open a terminal, but that's a RHEL 10 thing, okay? This is not a generic. This is just a RHEL 10 thing, okay? Cool. Now let me just check to see if my desktop is being captured. It is. It's great. Cool. Now, don't forget our GRUB is still damaged. So if I reboot now, I will go back to my GRUB, to the GRUB prompt. Now there are many things that can cause that GRUB prompt to appear, and you have to do this procedure. But there are two main things besides all the others that can cause this. One of which it's a missing GRUB CFG file. So the GRUB CFG file got deleted by some reason, doesn't really matter, or damaged kernel files, or anything damaged on the GRUB runtime files. So first of all, we're going to reinstall GRUB, and you can then fix the boot CFG. Okay, so let's reinstall GRUB if GRUB is for some reason missing, damaged, whatever. Okay, so get yourself some root access. You can use sudo, but I'm going to use the su because I'm going to make many commands as root. I want to stay in the root prompt. If you prefer or wish, you can use the sudo for that. It's fine. So in theory, it's just to grub, to install, and you specify the disk. The problem is you don't know which disk it is, so we just do lsblk. So at this point, you have a perfectly usable system right now. Just don't reboot it. And you can check that in this case, our boot, it's this partition there. It's this disk here, okay? So just do grub to install, and you say /dev, and you say the partition, and you get this information saying that modifo.sh does not exist. If you don't get this image, things will just go as normal. I'm sorry, message, not image. If you don't get this message, things will just go as normal. If you get this message, don't worry. It's just because you have some files missing that are needed to build for grub install to work. It's fine. You'll just do DNF. At this point, everything is working. Okay, so we are server is up, services are running. We should be okay, and we'll need more time in our pockets. So you just what DNF provides. And you search which package is going to install this guy there. You just wait for whatever time it has to be waited. Things are working now, so you can breathe. So DNF, you just do DNF install. You don't have to install all of this. I would just will, because then I'm protected for future situations. So I'm going to install this guy. I'm going to install this guy. I don't need the AA64. Stop that. I don't, but I will anyways, because it doesn't hurt to have them in the future. Okay. So I just install. Oh shit, my keyboard it's not perfectly. Okay, it's good. And I'm going to install this. It's fine. And then we retry again the installation. you'll get the message saying that if you have secure boot, the procedure it's much more complicated. But if you are running this type of platforms, I don't think you want to be running secure boot because it's going to make your life so much harder. So I am not running secure boot. I know that I'm not running secure boot. So I'm just going to get the minus force thing going. It's installed. I know I'm not running secure boot. I'm going to make a separate video about how can you check if secure boot is on or not. I'm going to make an extra video for that. Like, subscribe, and comment to get notified. I'm going to make a long version and a short version as normal, as usual. And I'm going to show you how can you check if secure boot is enabled or not. I know that is not, and everything is fine now. The second thing, so GRUB is installed, but do we have the GRUB CFG? Let's check it out. So /ls/boot grub 2, and I don't see it there. So I don't see any GRUB CFG. So if I reboot now, GRUB it's working, but I don't have the GRUB CFG, which means that it falls back to the GRUB prompt again. Okay, so let's build that. So let's do grub2 mkconfig, and let's output to the butt the grub2 grub.cfg. If you are in doubt which file name should be called or where to put it, just check a healthy system. You guys are not going to see that because I'm not capturing my own desktop. But if I check the my boot folder, grub2, okay, I can just check a healthy system. Most likely you are working on a Linux desktop, or open up a VM, and it's called grub CFG, so it's confirmed. This is going to build a new file. Now the file exists, and it should be everything is fixed. You may have to run an FS check. If they ask you to run, just do it, and it should be to go. Now we will do just a final reboot, just to make sure that things are now back in somewhat normal state. I can see that they are, because it's taking a little while longer to boot. And there we go. Our RHEL system, our Rocky system in this case, it's booting. And now with the non-boot set applied, so that's okay. That's why you get the desktop a little bit more shrink, because it has no hardware installation enabled. But it's perfectly functional, and it's working, booting to the graphical desktop or booting to whatever desktop you have enabled for your system. So a little bit more details were shared here. In this case, a RHEL system, and the RHEL system with a little bit more complicated storage space. So here we managed to fix a more complicated GRUB situation, get our server back to life, reinstall GRUB, and reinstall in a way the GRUB CFG file, putting everything back in its place. So which means that the further reboots should be normal until our next troubleshooting adventure. I hope this helps someone out there. Like, subscribe, and comment. It will help, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.